Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a March 7th edition of the MSP Initiative MSP Talk. We are now officially in March. So the year is definitely chugging along. And whether you're on or off the train, it is moving. Gonna get some housekeeping done now, and then we'll get into some of the good stuff. So stand by while I share my screen, and then we'll get into it. So here we go. All right, mspinitiative.com. This and every other session we've ever done is recorded. It's both in podcast and video format. So if you're following us on a podcatcher like your iPhone or one of the apps, great. If not, you see all these sessions are listed here, and they're actually hosted on YouTube. Whatever platform you're listening to us on, like, subscribe, follow us. Obviously we keep doing these, and hopefully get good stuff out of it. So otherwise, it'll be on mspinitiative.com under sessions as well. We have what we call MSP Community Minds. Currently 2 scheduled for this year. First one's coming up here in Nashville, April 17th and 18th. It is a completely educational event. You'll see all of the MSPs that are panelists during this event who are talking about various topics, as well as the workshops by some of our community experts. So this is a 2-day educational event that is absolutely free for you to register and attend, other than actually getting there. So that part does cost money, but hey, no $3.99, $4.99, $9.99, $12.99 registration fee. That's not the case. You'll be able to register free as an MSP, and we will wine you, dine you, and hopefully help you learn something. So join us, mspinitiative.com under Community Minds. And then, of course, we have our famous after hours, like community block parties that we do all the time, MSP community block parties. So first one is coming up here in that end of March. We are working with the great folks over at Enable. They're holding an event in Dallas called Enable Empower. So that's later on this month. We will be holding a block party in conjunction with that event on the evening of March 26th, starting around 8:30, 9 o'clock, going till, we shut the place down. So, of course, if you're an MSP, you're in the greater Dallas area and you want to join us, absolutely free for you to register and join us. And all of the cocktails of the evening would be covered. If not, if you're going to the conference, obviously, please join us that night. We will move you from the conference hotel to our block party venue and enjoy the evening. We have some community offers, which are just deals or hookups from around the industry for vendors that are trying to take care of you. And then we have our industry calendar, which is about between 250 and 300 events that we know of so far this year in 2024. This event calendar goes till December, so hopefully that gives you a little bit of intel on what's going on. And that is all of the housekeeping for mspinitiative.com. Don't know how to spell initiative? Put it into Google. It'll give you the answer. You just put MSP on the front and .com on the end. mspinitiative.com. All right. Today we bring our maestro from behind the scenes to in front of the camera, Miss Jen Morrison, who a long time participant in all things MSP Initiative, but has been with MSP Initiative for almost a year now, coming up on a year pretty shortly. And she is the magic guru that presses all the buttons behind the scenes. So we just said, you know what? Maybe it's time to put you in front of the camera. And here we are. How are you doing today, Jen?
Good. I know, it's so funny. I sit in on every single one of these, whether people know it or not. It is playing in my home office every Tuesday and Thursday.
Yes, with the elevator or the fire alarm behind you or whatever's happening.
Yeah, the elevator, all the stuff.
Awesome.
Not good, but they're not doing anything right now.
Got you. So, we had Robin Miller, who's another MSP Initiative kind of person behind the scenes that, helps kind of put things together. Jen is our marketing and events guru. And before we get into all that, I usually, as Jen probably knows, give people a little bit of chance to tell their journey, right? Jen has a very unique way she got into the sandbox, but we'll start from the beginning, and you can tell us how you got here, Jen.
Yeah, so I had known Ian McCord, like McCord, Dado, for a very long time now, we both grew up in like the same area and our parents know each other. And I was teaching fourth grade and I was in like, I think my 6th year of teaching, and it was the 2020 to 2021 school year, which if everyone like has children who is listening to this, that was like a dumpster fire of a school year. And it was just like, I mean, for the kids, it was a dumpster fire, and the teachers, it was 10 times worse. So I was having a really rough year. I wasn't sure I wanted to do that anymore. And in like April, Ian and I were golfing. It was like the first nice day I remember. And he was like, how's teaching going? How's everything? And I was like, it's so bad. I hate it. And he had just moved back from Denver. And he was like, well, I moved back and I'm starting a new job at Zorus. I'm going to be the CEO. Like, why don't you jump on and like, let's talk. And then in June, like 2 days after the school year ended, I was in Miami with a few friends, and Ian and CK, who was at Zorus at the time, I think they were there for ASCII, but they were in Miami and they were like, we're at an event, we're going out to this bar, like, why don't you meet us? And I met up with them, and it was like I guess technically like my interview, but it was like midnight and we were all just like hanging out. And I came home, and a few days later, and I remember being like, that was real, right? Like, you weren't just having like a few drinks, like you remember everything we talked about. And I started a week later, and like right after the 4th of July. And then a week after that, I went on Channel Strong, and that's where I met like Alec and Ken and everyone. So they were like the first people I met in the channel. But yeah, I went from teaching 4th and 1st grade to the channel within like a week.
I mean, technically you're on summer vacation during that time. But yeah, I was gonna say, I was like, yeah, it's not even 2 weeks. Oh, that's right. She was like off.
Yeah, my summer vacation was cut very short that year.
Didn't even have a chance to fully recharge, Jen.
I didn't, but it's okay.
Okay. All right. Well, that's interesting. So you went from teaching fourth grade to jumping in what I like to call the MSP sandbox, which it's very interesting, right? Because everybody likes to play with sand, but in their own corner sometimes, maybe sometimes together. It all depends on how everybody's playing that day. And wow, Channel Strong. So many people started their channel careers with the Channel Strong trip, I feel. So that's good. I'm glad we did that during the time that we did it, because nothing else is going on, I feel like. But
yeah, I literally remember, I think I came a day or two, like on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, and you guys had already started the Northeast leg, and CK called me and he's like, how soon can you be in New Hampshire? I was like, I don't know, like 3 hours, I think. And I drove up, and I didn't know anybody. And I was the only one with a car. You guys had the bus, and that was it. And I remember I had to go get ice with Ken, and I had never met him. It was like first time, and we're like getting ice together, and he's like, "Oh, you're gonna love it. It's great." No.
that's funny. Well, nothing like Ken Patterson on the road, for sure, for sure. I was actually just talking to Ken right before this session, so all good. So now that you've been in for a little bit, right? At least a couple years. Would you go back and tell yourself back, I don't know, your 2020 self or 2021 self, like, would you have done this job now that you have been in it? Or what did you learn, good or bad, from the gig?
So it's funny because Ian, when I had first initially talked to him about doing the job, like he was like, I know that tech isn't your thing. He's like, you love Bravo and like Taylor Swift. Like, you're not at home coding and like doing all this kind of stuff. He was like, but if you stick with us for like a year or two, he was like, I think that you could be able to go do like marketing or something in any industry you want. And I was like, okay, that sounds good. And here I am, like, what, I guess almost 3.5 years, 4 years later, and I'm still in the same industry, which is funny. I would have been surprised by that part if you had told me that in 2020, but I'm happy that I stayed because I do really love the channel and stuff. And I didn't even know what an MSP was when I started at Zorus. And just like what I know now is so crazy. But I think my 2020 teaching self would not believe that I would be here still right now.
Okay, that's good to know. Well, hopefully that means that for people who are outside of the sandbox looking in, there could be something worthwhile, if you put your toe in, like especially the younger people like who have, kind of orbited the sandbox a little bit, but maybe don't have a gig inside, right? Like there's a lot of good. I mean, I'm not saying it's all 100%, like every industry, there's things, but I'd say that there's a lot of good being in the sandbox.
Yeah, and I know like Marnie Stockman came from education. Danielle at Cyberfox came from there too. So, I mean, I guess you could really come from any industry and come in. Like when I tell you I knew nothing about the channel, not one thing. When I was on Channel Strong, I didn't know anything. And I was there to like represent Zorus, and people are like, "Oh, it's like, what do you guys do?" And I remember Ian was like, "Just say cybersecurity, like don't say anything else." If they like, and then sometimes like when I am put on the spot or scared, I just ramble. So I just started like rambling about our topics, and I'm sure all the information was wrong, but I was just, I mean, I learned so much. Anyone I feel like could really come in starting at zero and really get up there in a short amount of time too.
Yeah, no, 100%. Obviously, all depends on the individual. Let's talk about for a second, your outside of work things, right? You said Bravo and Taylor Swift. Apparently, you have a whole nother online persona, Jen.
I do. um, I do. I have a Bravo like fan account that started as like just a funny thing during COVID, during boredom to keep me sane. And now I just hit 100,000 followers yesterday.
Wow. And that's I think you said your account was deleted and then it came back and you had new.
Yeah, it got deleted. I woke up at Connect IT, it like Kaseya's event in Vegas, woke up and it was gone. And that was when like Meta or whatever was like anything that seemed like a bot or whatever was just getting completely like wiped off from those platforms. And I unfortunately was one of them and tried everything to get it back. And I ended up having to start from scratch. And
Wow. So 100,000 followers. And I mean, even in your short time here, like on the road through airports and airplanes and whatever, like people have like recognized you from that.
yeah, we were at exchange and like two girls came up and were like, this is so weird, I know, but like, are you like you're blocked by Jax from Instagram and like asked for a photo. And one of them actually just messaged me on LinkedIn the other day asking if we were going to exchange. Um, and like my emails with like Natasha at Nerdio, like we'll be emailing it about an event. And at the bottom, she's like, did you see that episode last night? Like, so it's like the sandbox and a sandbox within the sandbox.
Why weren't you stopped on an airplane? I think somebody saw you in an airport. I remember.
Yeah, the flight attendant. And she ended up giving me like all these free drinks. And the guy sitting next to me was like, why are you getting these? It's like, ask your girlfriend. It's
It was just some random person you're sitting next to. That's funny. And then didn't you just recently go to like a Radio City like Broadway show
yeah,
type thing?
CJ and I went to Chicago on Broadway because Vanderpump Rules, Ariana was the lead. And two people came up. They were screaming my name from across the theater during intermission. And I was like just looking around. And then they found us and came over and asked CJ to take a photo. And she was like, how is this happening right now? Like, what? And then we actually saw a Bravo husband at Exchange, and he's an MSP. And we had no idea.
Wow, it is a small world that we live in, especially online. It just goes to show you, right? Like there's some people who have built some pretty good online, kind of personas, profiles, even in the sandbox. But you have built your own little fan following there in the real world. So congratulations on 100,000 followers. That's pretty exciting.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah,
It
so
was,
does that officially make you an influencer? Is that the
I don't
correct?
know. I don't really like influence that much. I try and keep it. And I feel like this could transfer over to like everything in the community too, with like the channel is like transparency. And I don't like to, like, I've gotten a lot of reach out for people being, oh, like like this brand or like this item, like, will you promote it? And I'm like, no, I would never in a million years wear that. And I feel like followers who have followed me for a long time would know that. And I don't want to come off as like fake or anything. And I feel like that transfers over to like things in the channel too. Like people can tell when you're full of shit and just trying to like sell them something for the purpose of selling instead of something you actually care about.
100%. Oh, authenticity is a big thing these days. You've also been able to use your little channel over there. I would say big channel. When you run into like things in your event marketing gig here where you're like, I need help. Does anybody know somebody in this city that does this? And it's actually panned out for you.
Yeah, if you guys are going to our party in Dallas this month and you see our photographer, I actually got him through Instagram. I just put up a post and was like, look, the prices I'm getting are insane. Does anybody know of like a decently priced good photographer in the Dallas Frisco area? And I got, I think, like 25 emails. I
Wow.
just kind of like sorted through them. And this one guy, I was like, look, this is the price we're looking for. And he was like, cool, I'll be there. And
Well, that's where your side project and your day gig can cross over, yeah?
yeah, and it's super helpful too. And like I have that separate email for it. So it all just goes there. And I'm gonna definitely use that in the future because I feel like things at events have just been through the roof expensive lately. And if we could find people who like want to do a deal, like hang out with us for the night, you could take like and take pictures like they want to. So
Hopefully that's a good photographer.
I know. I looked at his Instagram. It looked good. I was like, look, we just want to catch the fun vibe of the party. Like nothing like wedding photography or anything like that. I was like, just
Yeah.
show us having fun.
Yeah, exactly. So you haven't quite made it to a year yet. It's coming up, but like we definitely have been out and about, bouncing around on planes and trains and automobiles. I just had Caitlin on earlier in the week from Channel Program, and we talked all about the, fun and interesting stories of being on the road. I'm not so sure about the 2-hour commute from the island to everywhere else to get to a plane, but I digress. For Caitlin over there, you fly out of a very busy airport usually. One
Yes.
that I personally try and avoid like the plague, but that's just because it takes me 3 hours to get there.
Right. Like JFK and LaGuardia. I much prefer LaGuardia. That's only about 35 minutes from my apartment. I'm like knocking on wood just in the future. That's when I leave at like 4 a.m. and I can like haul ass down there to our favorite park to fly. And like if I have to leave at noon, sometimes it could take me almost like over an hour. And JFK, which mileage wise, it's so close to LaGuardia, can add 40 minutes to your trip. And but I mean, it's nice being there because I mean, you should see, I send you the prices of my flight. They're never near what like the smaller regional airports will charge you.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Well,
still
you
getting
are
expensive,
you
but
yes, like I try and tell everyone, right? Like obviously I live closer to Philly than anywhere else because I'm in the burbs, but I'd say a lot more of my flights have leaned towards Newark instead of Philly because you get direct flights out of Newark because it's in like the New York, airport routes. You know what I mean? Like, because New York is huge, 12 million people or whatever. And that's just the 5 boroughs, right? You zoom out to like the greater metropolitan area, it's even bigger. So unlike some of our colleagues, I try and avoid layovers. In their case, they don't have a choice because they're in the middle of nowhere. But I don't have to do that. I try and avoid it.
I was actually talking about it with Michelle the other day. I don't think I've ever taken a layover in my adult life. In my 33 years of living, I don't think I've ever had to stop for a layover.
Wow,
Or at least one that
I
I
mean,
can't remember.
that's because you live near two major airports.
Right. And I have my whole life. So I was thinking about it. I was like, wow, I can't remember ever.
Even when you went to Europe,
Yeah,
did
no layover.
never. Wow.
Oh, wait, no, I have had one. Okay. When I went to Italy and with my friend, we had a layover, but it was like 50-minute. It was actually panic inducing. That was awful. But okay, I have had one. I think it was so traumatic. My brain blocked it out, but that's the only time. I've never had a layover coming
You
home.
didn't want to do the JFK to London, London City to Amsterdam, Amsterdam to Prague route?
I did JFK to London to Italy, and London, that airport was the security you have to go through just on a layover. We almost missed our flight, and it was the worst. And they like went through my bag, of course, and it was like all the little toiletry, everything, and made me throw like half of it out. It was just, even though they were like technically the ounce allowed, it was just like throw out my makeup, which is so expensive.
If London didn't work out for you, definitely don't fly through like the Middle East. I remember one time I went from Sydney to London, but I had a layover in Abu Dhabi.
Oh my God.
And I was just like, uh-oh, this is not gonna go my way from a security standpoint. Not that most things do. And yeah, definitely not gonna go your way if you want to go that route.
Where are you stopping for Sydney? Is that just Vegas?
Yeah, no. So anytime we go to down under, right, whether it's somewhere in New Zealand or somewhere in Australia, unless you're going all the way to the other side of Australia, like Perth, which is like on the other side.
Oh, you go over the US.
It's always like East Coast to like LA or San Fran, mostly LA. And then you switch planes and you do the 14-hour flight from LA to wherever your destination is, right? So it's like 24 to 27 hours one way, depending on how your flights work out. I've gone through Dallas, right? So you could go like East Coast to Dallas, and Dallas has a direct flight to like Sydney, for example. Or our friend Alec convinced us one time to do Fiji Air, but you have to lay over in Nandi, which is where their airport is in Fiji, for like, could be an hour, could be 5 hours, whatever. And but you're like, hey, I'm in Fiji, right? Cool, like to say that you were there, kind of thing. But you're not there. Like, if you like, a long layover would be like 6 or 8 hours, if you like planned it that way. And like,
Yeah.
that airport was like, that when they checked you into that airport to like, all right, what's your name? And they were like using a pencil and like a piece of paper and
And just
I was just like, are we still like, is this the same year? Like, where are we? What time are we in? Like, do we go back in time? So like, computer technology was not their forte over there. But hey, I will give them credit. If you leave the airport in Fiji, they give you a SIM card for free.
oh, that's nice.
And they want like so much data preloaded on there, and off you go.
Off you go. I think I told you this, but for my 30th, which was June 2020, I was supposed to go to Thailand. And I remember in January 2020, my mom was like, you're not going. There's something called like coronavirus, like this whole thing. And I was like, they'll have it figured out by June. And my friend kept being like, we need to cancel our flight to Thailand. And I was like, don't do it. That are going to charge us. I was like, it's going to get canceled. And then like when all the news was coming with COVID, I kept hearing the city Wuhan, and I was like, oh my God, where have I heard that? And that was where my layover was supposed to be, on my way to Thailand.
Wow, I never heard that story, Jen. That's crazy.
Yeah, I booked that trip like September 2019, never heard of Wuhan in my life. And it was on Chinese Southern Airways.
Oh my Lord.
And I was stopping in Wuhan for like 4 hours. And I was like, who knows where that city is? Like and then all of a sudden Wuhan was, and I was like, I don't even think they have an airport anymore, let alone like our trip is even happening. So
Southern Chinese Airways. I would suggest maybe not taking that airline.
yeah, it was a $600 flight to Thailand.
Yeah, I think our friend from Channel Program, who was just on earlier in the week, is going to Thailand on like solo. And I was just like,
That's awesome.
like,
Well, don't, hopefully her layover is somewhere
I think she posted it online.
a little more well known.
Yeah, she's to Air Canada.
Oh, okay. She'll
Yeah.
be safe.
Yeah, safe. So I hope it goes well for her. And she said she would, copy all the tips down, if we ever ended up in that part of the world. I was like, okay.
That'd be
Awesome. So you're definitely neck deep in, all the craziness that we do over here. And so it's probably been a little whirlwind since you started back last year. I think it was June, I
It
think
was
somewhere.
mid-May.
So how's your journey been so far, Jen? Tell us about
It's been good. I literally remember going down to Tampa to like train Teresa at Zoris, and I started at Bvoip the next day. So there was like it was just one to the other immediately. But I like it. I mean, I wanted something more fast paced and a lot going on, and I definitely got what I wished for. So
I was gonna say, I hope it's fast paced enough for you, Jen. Because if it's not, just let us know. We can
yeah.
surely turn that knob for you.
Oh no, I'm never bored. I always have something to do. So
100%. Yeah.
especially now that we're like full into, I feel like after NerdioCon, the floodgates just kind of open and now it's just nonstop like parties, trips, everything. So
Yeah. I mean, I would say planning block parties is not the normal event planning gig in the channel.
no. And it's funny, I don't think people actually realize, like they can say like, oh my God, I know that was such hard work. You guys did an awesome job. It it's so much more than people realize, I think. Like every little detail down to where that table was, like when you were at the party, is all things that we have to plan and take into consideration, and like every little detail. And that's why we have to start like now, like a month in advance. Like we're already talking about an IT Nation party. We've had like 2 meetings about that already, and it's March, and that's in November.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely like now that we're like far enough away from Wuhan and COVID, that like all the regions of the world are like fully rolling. Like we have not been like on either side. We have not been down to like Australia or New Zealand or anywhere in that region since January of 2020, way before you were here. And did a couple of European events last year, right? We did DattoCon Dublin, we did the Enable Prague event. So now it looks like we're doing something, at least one in Europe, bunch in the US, at least one in APAC, like Australia. I was like, so this is an international party planning business.
It really is. It and having to like talk to Australia, and it's 10 o'clock at night and I'm emailing them because I know if I don't email them right then and there, I'm going to miss them for a whole other like 12 hours if I wait till the morning, and just getting on their schedule.
Like the international time zone thing is real.
It really is. And
We'll
you'll
see.
see.
We'll see what happens if you get on a plane and go to Australia, 27 hours each way.
That's insane.
Like, did you actually compute that before you committed to this?
Yeah, but I've always, I don't mind planes, especially if we go there. If I go there after IT Nation, I think I slept for 3 days after IT Nation. So if we're going from IT Nation to Australia, I'll be sedated that entire flight, just naturally from,
I was gonna say with or without drug.
no, just my exhaustion in a good, but
Right. Well, that was the first time you saw behind the curtain and like that IT Nation party, I think was the biggest block party we've ever done in the
yeah.
history of the whole thing. Like you got to see that come together, right? Like, did you think that dealing with like a professional, like radio recognizable band was that difficult?
Honestly, I had no idea what that could be like or not. And then like Michelle and I were at Whole Foods at like 8 a.m. looking for like the specific green smoothie that like they needed and whatnot. But I liked that. I thought they would be like a little more diva-ish, knock on wood for whoever we get this year that they're not. But no, it was really cool. And I was telling people too, I don't think they like I had remember that day and being like, all right, so I'll go check out the venue, go do some things, then we'll go back to IT Nation, do the booth. I was at the venue from 9 a.m. to 4 a.m. That
Mm-hmm.
entire day. I didn't get to shower before the party, so I apologize to people that I spoke to. And like I remember just going in the bathroom, like putting some water on myself and was like, okay, I'm clean. And just like starting the party. And I had like almost a suitcase there with like a change of clothes and whatnot that they like held in the back for me. And I was there for almost 24 hours just because, you know, when you're doing those kinds of things, there are things that come up that you don't realize until they come up. And, you know, we went to Sam's Club twice. We went to like Best Buy, all these places. And, you know, so I was there. I felt like I lived there. I was there all day.
I mean, we can make sure there's like a blow up mattress and a tent next time. Like
Yeah,
if
just a cot, a sleeping bag.
I think one of the problems, you know, and like before our party planning journey here, when you see major events like the things that happen at stadiums, like a Super Bowl, for example, that's like the ultimate extreme version of what we're talking about, right? And like I realized a long time ago that when it comes to the day of or day before, a lot of the moving parts, a lot of the people involved have no like they just showed up on the scene for the first time. You know what I mean? Like the people that you were planning with the whole time, the vendors that you were talking to the whole time, the you know the external things that you were planning the whole time, like those people may not even be there, right? And so
Right.
you're just trying to like keep people on the track that they're supposed to be on because like you're literally talking to people for the first time, unfortunately. And the larger the event, the more of that there is. Like I didn't realize, you know, people probably don't realize it. Like, let's use the Super Bowl because everybody knows it. The NFL has a separate company staff CEO that just handles the Super Bowl every year. Like they're planning 2, 3 years at a time. And like they are renting the stadium and the surrounding complex from the team, right? So like this year's in Vegas, the Raiders were not operating the stadium for the Super Bowl. The NFL was. They rented the building and the complex from the Raiders, and there's all people that aren't normally at that complex, that facility, the day like during the week of the Super Bowl that normally wouldn't be there.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. I felt like
Yeah.
that.
So like think about, you know, like the complete disorganization that must happen because there's all these third party vendors that are at this thing for the first time.
Oh my God. People must, the company that puts on the Super Bowl must not sleep for like
Oh,
weeks.
it's hundreds of companies, right? Like think about every vendor. And like I remember one time I went as like a temporary like agency worker because like somebody was like, "Hey, you want to go to the Super Bowl?" Like it was in New Jersey, right? For like when they built the new Giants Jet Stadium, they had that Super Bowl, and then like 2 minutes after the Super Bowl ended, like a blizzard showed up. You remember that? I don't know if you remember that. It was like 2011 or 2012 or whatever. It was like
Who was
Bronx.
the performer? That's how I always know.
It was I have to think about that. I remember it wasn't great. Um, but for the record, the halftime show at Super Bowl is not meant for in person. It's all about TV. Don't fool yourself. So anyway, I was like a temporary worker. Pull that up. Who is the halftime entertainment? Let's see.
That's how I know my Super Bowls by who
That's horrible.
performed.
Okay, that I got it. I got it. Let's see.
Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake.
No, stop it. Oh, it was Bruno Mars.
Oh, okay.
So it was Bruno Mars, Red Hot Chili Peppers.
I remember that. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. That was the one. No, so it was that one was good. My bad. But it was like a crazy like the score of the Super Bowl, which I'm sure you don't care about, was like crazy. Like by halftime, you left. It was 43-8.
Oh, that's lame.
Yeah. So anyway, so I was there as like a temporary worker, right? Because I have to hire like thousands of like just on demand people, right? Just for the day of the Super Bowl. And like, dude, there is like a lot of disorganization. So when you think about like the size events we do, like it seems crazy, but like think about that 100x.
I don't even think my mind can wrap itself around that thought. It's
Yeah. Yeah. And then like, like people, yeah, there's all these little, nooks and crannies there, right? But like, since you're a big halftime show person, it's like, hey, the people who perform at the Super Bowl don't get paid. They get a budget for their like staging and lighting and like all that stuff, but like they're working for free.
right, because the exposure. Because I will say, I have not stopped listening to Usher since the Super Bowl. I
Yeah. That brings me into the cost of hiring a professional act is way more expensive than anybody thinks.
I wish we could get Usher for IT Nation. His stock
I,
has definitely gone up though.
I was gonna say his price went like probably double since the Super Bowl halftime show.
But like people like me are the reason that it's free because you just nonstop. You're like, oh my God, I forgot about that song. And that
Yes,
you just go down the rabbit hole.
it definitely was a good halftime show for the millennial crowd, I think.
Yeah. And I thought Sugar Ray at ours was awesome. Better than Ezra Sugar Ray Tonic. And just like the covers too that they did, like they really picked some good songs. And they
Yeah, it was and then we had All American Rejects year before where I don't know if you heard about that or you weren't here for that one, but I don't know if you actually made it to that one.
I did not get to go to that one.
Well, needless to say,
This was my first IT Nation ever this year.
wow. Well, trying to do that in the middle of a hurricane was not great, but we figured it out. But talk about madness and disorganization.
I'm like getting like sweat, like thinking about what that must have felt like.
Yeah, everybody was like, "Hey, man, this is gonna be the best hurricane party ever." I'm like, "I've never been to a hurricane party. What is that supposed to mean?" Yeah,
In a hurricane.
yeah, but the All American Rejects did great.
Yeah, I love them. I was so sad that I couldn't go, but I mean, I wasn't really traveling that much until Bvoip. Like that was my first DattoCon this year, my first IT Nation. Like I'd done a bunch of smaller stuff, but this was my first time going to like the bigger shows.
And I got to get, listen, and even doing an event next to an event, right? There's a lot of moving parts, and we know how much effort there goes into it. But like, I'm sure the planning that the larger events have to do. Well, I'm sure there. I know there's outside consultants and all sorts of people that are around them to pull it off. But you're doing an event for 2, 3, 4,000 people. Like, think about the events that are 20,000 people, 50,000 people, 100,000 people, right? Like, we're really at the bottom of the rung when you think about it.
Right. No, we would need to hire like 50 more people to get to that kind of scale.
How did you come to that number, Jen?
I don't know.
So big year ahead of us, right? Lots of potential things in the calendar all over the map. What are you looking forward to?
Honestly, I'm looking forward to Australia. I'm really excited for you guys to look at the places that I found. Like they're all like relatively close to where like the venues are going to be in, but they look so cool. I feel like they're just like on a different level than the you like than some of the cities that we all frequent here so much. Like right on the water, like all this kind of stuff. It just looks they look awesome, and I am really excited for you guys to see them and get your opinion on them. If you guys come back and you're like they suck, I'm gonna cry. It's a lot of them look really, really awesome. So it's exciting when you just like look at a place online and then you watch it grow into like what it turns into. So I'm really curious and excited to hear what you guys think of those places.
Well,
And
here's the problem. The internet can be deceiving, right? Like you look at something
right.
online, you're like, oh, this looks great. And you show up, you're like, oh, this does not look what like the picture does not match the reality, right? Like when did they take these pictures and put them online? 10 years ago? Like that has happened. So yeah, no, I mean, this is part of the reason. I was saying it for years before you've joined this, Jen. It's like you need to see these places and you need to like walk in the door, see it live. If it's like a hotel venue, check out a room. If there's food involved, do a taste test. Like some of this is like absolutely required. Like if you leave it to chance, more likely than not, it goes bad for you.
Right.
Yeah. So, but hey, you forget there's still a Germany event.
There, yeah. Now, I guess maybe, I don't know, we'll have to go from Dublin to Germany, look at a couple and while we're
I was,
already over
I was,
there.
I was just telling somebody that. Actually, I didn't even tell you yet, but we just got invited to another event in Dublin the next month, July.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So we just make sure your passport's working. And you just got global entry.
I just got global entry, which I used after NerdioCon, and it was life
See?
changing.
See, it's a completely different experience.
No, I'm very happy with that. I look like someone you shouldn't allow back in the country in my photo, but it was definitely worth it. I'm happy I don't actually have to show that when I come in, because they'd be like, no.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that. So like, some luxuries of the road. I know our other colleague would tell you, oh, this lounge and that lounge. I'm just like, just get me through security, man. I don't care if I sit on the floor after that.
It's funny because I have access to everything he does. I just don't talk about it as much as he does.
He loves talking about
Like, I will go to all the places he goes, and for what everyone knows, I was laying down on the gate floor the whole time. Like, no one has any idea what I'm doing at the airport. I like, it's cool, but I just, unless someone is like, "Oh, have you ever been to this lounge?" I really don't hype it up as much as some other people we know.
it. Yes, for sure. Although you do have your separate Bravo watching iPad.
Yes, I do. Because my school days, I was not even allowed to like join, like I couldn't even type Facebook in on my computer. So I was so scared to watch it on my work computer, watch Bravo. And that's when I asked you one time if I can.
How much Bravo content are you consuming on a weekly basis? Can we put a number to it? Is it like five
Oh,
hours, 10 hours,
all right.
30
Potomac
hours?
Sunday, Vanderpump Tuesday, Beverly Hills Wednesday, Miami, Summer House. Right now it's like 5 a week, 5 hours a week.
Okay. That's actually a lot better than I thought it was.
Like, I'll just like, the only time I really do those kind of like, I'll watch the show live and like write about it. Like, I used to just do that for fun, and then it became a thing where people were like, why aren't you writing about the episode? So I've been doing that regularly now.
So how
And
long do you take screenshot like pictures during the show and then you go back and write like takes time to post all of that. Like
I have to be like just on my, like, think quick on my feet. I'll literally see something, quickly take a picture, type it super fast, and then post it while I'm still watching.
so you're running at warp speed during an actual episode.
I am, because like I went, because I don't know if you heard about Scandival last year. It was like the whole cheating scandal on Vanderpump Rules, and my friend had a watch party. And I was like, I don't really want to go because I can't talk to anybody. And I don't want anyone to talk over the show because I need to listen. And I went, and it was just, I was like, I need to be alone. I can't watch these with people anymore. Like,
It's kind of funny. You talk about the way that some of the most absolutely crazy sports fans that I know do. Like, I cannot watch a game with you. I need to be in my place. Like, I don't want to don't text me. Don't call me. Don't bother me. Don't like walk in front of the TV. Like, just leave me alone. I got to watch this game. And like, you kind of sound like that, Jen.
that's how it is. I can't, if I miss something, all my DMs are like, I can't believe you didn't post about that, blah, blah, blah. And like, I need to focus. It's like almost like working. Like, I need to know what's going on so that I can do what I need to do on my story. Which
So
sounds so ridiculous when I say it
how
out
many
loud.
how many direct messages are unread in your Instagram handle here?
Oh, hundreds of thousands easily.
Hundreds of thousands?
Oh, 100% at least.
Wow.
My request box has hundreds of thousands alone.
Huh.
And then I have like my regular inbox. I have a primary inbox and a general inbox. The primary one I check all the time because like that's where my friends will message me and stuff. Ian McCord messages me all the time on my Bravo Instagram. And then the general one is, yeah, it's just hard to keep up. It's
That's crazy.
some people are really mean too, and I don't like to read the messages sometimes.
Oh yeah.
The little trolls.
Well, I mean, they're everywhere. It's the internet for sure.
They are.
So could you give any tips about, like, it sounds like you kind of backed into it, but like, how do you stumble into, like, what's your recommendation if somebody's like, I want to build a viral Instagram account? Like, is there even a blueprint, or do you just get lucky?
Honestly, I think I just got kind of lucky. I mean, what was happening was, I mean, starting out on my post, I had like 1,000 hashtags. Like if I wanted every single hashtag I could possibly have because that's how people find your stuff. But then people were like resharing my stuff on their stories and I was getting more followers, and then like bigger accounts were, and then like the actual Bravo people were sharing it, and like the following was growing. And then it just kind of honestly took off. I don't even really have like advice because I didn't plan any of this. It was just kind of like organic, really. And I used to have help like from my friend, but then she was posting stuff that I thought was stupid. And I was like, I do not want to be associated with this. So it is my account now. And
You have done some really creative memes on your regular work stuff. So that is, you're definitely clever. I think that's part of it, right? Like, you got to be a little bit,
you have to be.
yeah, like a little tongue in cheek, like have a little fun with it. Like, if it's too dry, nobody's gonna do it. Nobody's gonna follow.
No, no, you have to be like a little witty and whatever. Um, and like you just have to think on the spot. Like a lot of the things I post for us, I think about, and then I make that meme in 2 minutes just because the thought came into my head. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna like,
Okay.
you kind
So
of
like,
have to have like, I guess, a natural knack for it too. It's not like that part you can't teach. You can't teach somebody like how to be creative or whatnot. But
I mean, listen, I would you, so more art than science.
yes. And I think personality too comes into it a lot. I mean, I'm
Okay.
sure you guys spend a lot of time with me.
What are you saying, Jen?
You know my personality and everything.
You
I'm
well,
not exactly the quiet, timid,
no,
shy person.
no. You are actually very funny. I think that's part of the charm for sure.
I know
Talk.
Alec was saying something to me the other day. He was like, I said something, and he was like, well, Jen, not everyone can like get a demo in the dessert line in pitch black at like Nerdy.com. We were just in the dark. There was no lights. We were in the dessert line. Then I left the dessert line with a demo.
It's great. I love that. I mean, I think we should have a demo Olympics. You versus Kelsey. What do you think?
Ooh,
Could do it. Could make it
we
a thing.
could.
File that away. That's a George idea.
We were roommates too at Nerdy.com, right next to each other.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, we had a adjoining door, and I was
Oh,
so
that's
happy to find out it
right.
was her on the other side. And
That's funny. Well, hey, listen, we can make some fun with it. So apparently you have applied to be on a game show,
I have Squid Games, the reality show.
the Netflix phenomenon. That, to be honest, I've only heard about from you. I have not seen it yet.
But you did watch Squid Games, right?
No,
Oh, you didn't?
no,
You have to watch it before season 2 comes out this year. It's so good.
it's on the to-do list. But like, you may finish Sopranos before I start Squid Games.
Oh, I'm finishing Sopranos like this week. So
It could
I
be. It's
my son might
arguably
also
the best television show of all time.
Oh, I'm obsessed.
Oh, yeah, it's a shame. You know that guy. Yeah, the actor Tony Soprano, who did Tony Soprano, like started in like when he was 40 or something.
Yeah. He like
Yeah,
started much later in life. I love him.
yeah, he's good. He died
AJ
way
didn't
too
love him.
early.
I hate AJ so much.
Oh, Jen, yeah, like you know what? I'm very happy that you like, because like Sopranos was like a late '90s show, right? Like that's when it started. I think a lot of people, like younger people, sub 35, sub 30, it's not even on their radar, right? But that's how good a show, like it holds the test of time.
If anyone out there is on the fence about starting it, or I mean, if you don't want to, if you're not one of those people who likes being like tied to the TV the entire day, like on a Sunday, don't start it because it's addicting. I don't mind watching a show for 8 hours straight. So I'm like the perfect audience for it, but it is so good. And I'm usually not like, that's not my kind of show, usually, like the whole like mom thing, like whatever. I'm obsessed with it. It's so good. I started talking like them too, and I don't even mean to. I'm like, take it easy.
Yeah, as a guy who is a Northeast guy, right, Philly guy, and I spent plenty of time driving into New Jersey, and sometimes into New York when I had to. Like, yeah, like you appreciate it more because like that is the way people talk.
Oh yeah, my mom is Italian, 100% from New York. And sometimes watching that show is like watching a home video. Some of the things they do and say.
100%. I can totally say it. Like it is. You're just like, yeah, that's kind of how it goes, actually. And you're like,
It's
I can only imagine
exactly how
somebody
it
from
goes.
like the South or the Midwest or like West Coast watching this. They're like, that's not that's just TV. And it's like, I'm not
No,
sure. I think that's
spot
kind of
on.
how it goes.
Like that's like my uncle, like on the show. It is
Yeah,
exactly.
100%, 100%. So we met. So it's a possibility that the Squid Games contest show on Netflix, which is separate from the original like Squid Game series on Netflix. So I guess it's two separate things you could watch. That could be you.
It could be me. I applied. I feel like Squid Games won. I mean, the new season has to premiere, which it is this year, and then that will happen because all the games are based off the show. So we don't
Mm.
know what the new games are and stuff. But nope, I made my video. It took me like over an hour to fill out the application. They are not kidding around. I made myself seem as wild and out there as I probably come off in real life anyway. So we'll see. I think I would be a great addition. I told them about my account. I was like, look, I could lead a whole group. People will so we'll see. And I
I
don't
can't.
want to do any physical activity kind of game shows. So this is perfect. It's like mostly logical.
Well, I've only been on Price is Right. I don't think any advice I have from that show will help you on this one. But hey, we'll root for you if you make it on.
Thank you. I'll have to take 2 weeks off if I make it to the end. So
That is okay. Although you still owe me a place in the middle of nowhere that looks like you're going to get murdered when you're going into it.
this place kind of like you get shot with a paintball gun when you die. So
You remember the video of the car ride to the place that you booked for that one UK event?
I have that saved. I have showed so many people that video,
And
and they're like, my dad was like, I cannot believe you sent your CEO there. And he was like, and my dad goes, that's like a place you would want to stay. That's
oh boy, like, and then the worst part was I finally got all the way there in the middle of what seemed like Narnia, and like the place was closed, and I'm just like, this is not good. This
it
is not
actually
good.
came up recently because we saw Christopher in Nerdio at NerdioCon, and I know he was part of your saving process. He helped you get out of that situation.
It was I like the closer and closer we got to, I was like, this is not good. Like, do they
It
film
looked
hard?
lovely online,
I
great
was like,
reviews.
this is back to the whole. It looks, like what shows up online may not be what it looks like in real
That's
life.
true. We've lived it.
I
Thankfully,
lived it. I remember.
thankfully.
I remember calling you, and I'm like, Jen, did you look at this place? Did you like? I'm surprised they even have cell phone service to call you right now. Like, not looking good.
I'm gonna have that video on my phone for the rest of my life. I'm never getting rid of it.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks for Chris, because he was the one driving, and I was like, how do you even drive these roads?
It was just like a dirt.
This is a dirt road to nowhere
It
through
was
like
like the hills
literally
have
like
eyes.
it looks like they took like a chainsaw and just cut a hole through the forest, and you're just like, where are we going?
I bet you during the day it's so scenic and lovely.
I don't know about that, Jen.
And then someone wears your skin and walk.
Yeah. So we'll make sure that when you make your way over to the other side, you'll have to take a little trip.
Okay.
Yeah, for
Out
sure.
there.
So we will see Jen out and about. She's doing, it was one of those. I remember, I'm sure she's heard the story when our other colleague Alec first came on board. And I was like, so what do you want to do here? It was a little bit of a reverse interview. And he's like, well, I like to travel. I was like, oh, you do? No problem. And that turned into a couple 100,000 miles a year for year after year after year after year. But hey, I would say that you're doing, you had a very similar, like, so Jen, do you like to travel? Oh yeah, I love to travel. I was like, oh, okay. Hopefully we have been fulfilling your travel itch.
You have, and I'm excited. I think Dallas is next on my agenda. Yes, it is. And I'm excited to kick off the parties again. November feels like forever ago. It feels like we haven't had one in so long. So I'm ready.
It comes fast. Don't
It
worry.
does.
You're gonna like that'll be like the 7th party of the year, I feel like.
I know. I feel like everything's creeping up. Like we're planning for summer right now, which seems so far away, but
It's not. It's really close. It'll just flash before your eyes, trust me. Well, if so now Jen, from behind the scenes, now in front of the camera, she is a real person. This is not a fake email account, I promise.
I'm not a bot.
You are a legit real person with multiple Instagram accounts. One just has more followers than the other. 100%. And like Jen is the one that helps us get all the stuff up on mspinitiative.com and got all the events listed and gets all the podcasts posted. And she's behind the scenes working with all the various vendors and suppliers and all the things that we do throughout the year. So she definitely does not like FedEx right now, but that's okay.
No, I hate them. I'm going to call them out on my Instagram later. That's what I'm going to do.
100,000 followers. They're going to stop using FedEx.
I'm coming for them.
It's like you had one job.
I know. Buckle up. Buckle, and I'm relentless. I won't let this go. So
it's like you had to just get the box from point A to point B. What's so hard? Too funny, Jen. Well, this session was recorded and we will have it up on the podcatchers and YouTube and mspinitiative.com under sessions. Again, remember MSP Community Minds coming up in Nashville, April 17th and 18th. We got the Enable Empower block party that we're running at the end of this month, I believe on March 26th. And then we get into April, May, and June, which means that there's way more stuff coming behind it, both domestically here in the US and nationally. So there may be some extra shenanigans happening that we're working on behind the scenes, but you'll just have to stay tuned. I'm sure Jen will get this posted right away.
I know I'm never posting my own episode, so I don't have to. I know what we talked about and everything. So
see, was it that bad, Jen? You're all worried.
No, my stage fright is calm now.
Very good. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll catch you on the next one. I'll be out of pocket next week. I don't know what Jen's plans are for the 2 sessions for next week, but don't worry, I'll be back.
We got one next week. Ken's doing it, so
okay. Yeah, I'll be traveling down under, and part of my traveling will be checking out those venues. Jen said that she scoped out for us online. Do site surveys because it's required to make sure that you don't find yourself in a bad position. See, we've taught you hopefully some things on this episode. Thank you for watching and listening. Catch you on the next one. Have a good one, guys.
bye.